covering in chapter 8, chapter 11 for this week, which is talking about investment goals, the basics of investment goals, and looking at government and corporate bonds. Now, one of the things that you want to do before that you start getting ready to start investing is you want to ask yourself 5 questions. You want to know, how much money do you think you're going to need to satisfy your investment goals? How much risk are you willing to take to start an investment program? Um, what are some of the conditions, both personal and economic, that could get your investment off track? So you need to kind of identify those, like looking at maybe losing a job or anything like that. How long are you going to invest? How much time are you willing to put in this? And that's going to be based a lot on your age. You want to think about, if you start investing early, then you can take a little higher risk than if you wait till in your 40s or 50s. Then you want a more secure risk that you want to look at. And then the last one is, are you willing to make the necessary sacrifices that you need to be that you don't go out to eat to put money in your investment portfolio, or different things like that. Now, once you've kind of identified some of your goals, then you have to do what we call a financial checkup. All right, you need to look at, all right, am I paying my bills on time? If you are not paying your bills, if you're getting late notices, if you're paying late fees, then you don't even need to consider investing. You've got to get your debt in order, and you cannot have late fees. Are you balancing your budget? Are you bringing in more than you are taking out? Now, I've said this all along from day one. It's not how much you make, it's how much you spend. So if you're spending more than you're making, then you're not a good choice for investments. You need to back off, and you need to get that balance, that budget and balance. Are you managing your credit card debts? Are you putting money on your credit card because you don't have money to buy things with? We all need a credit rating. We all need credit cards. But if you are overextending your credit, if you have a low credit history and rating, again, back off. Don't try to start an investment program for right now, because it's not going to be good for you. Do you have an emergency fund? Remember, at the we've been talking about this, that your emergency fund should be 3 to 6 months minimum, that if something happens, you can pull money out of your emergency fund. You can fix your car, you can replace a roof. This is money that you wouldn't put on a credit card to pay for. You've got an emergency fund. If you don't have an emergency fund, then what I want you to do is you start putting that money that maybe you were thinking about investing, putting it toward an emergency fund. And then finally, the last thing you want to ask yourself is, do you have access to any other cash for emergency needs? For instance, a line of credit. If you are a good banking customer, they will extend you a line of credit to help you get over, that hump that you may have thinking about. So those are 2 things you want to ask yourself. You also want to make sure that you can handle investments. Some people, they want to try to do it themselves, and then they get very out of sync with themselves. They can't sleep, they don't eat, they're constantly trying to monitor their investments online. That's not a good, healthy alternative for you. I don't do my own investments. I have an investment broker, and we let them take care of it. That's just what I want to do. I want to check my stocks when they come in and see if they're making money. If I think I'm getting a good return on investment, that's always what you want to look like for, is your ROI. So I want to look at that. But you want to know, what kind of investments am I in? Am I in high yield? Am I in good dividend stocks? Am I trying just to make the most of my money, or just how am I investing? You also have to look at the risk factor. Every stock purchase you make, there's a risk. It may be worth a lot of money today, and then tomorrow It may not be worth 5 cents. And you have to be willing to accept that. You know, they always tell you to buy low, sell high. Sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes you just you keep it and you hold it. That's the big thing with investing, is that you've got to be willing to ride out the ups and downs that you're going to have in a stock market. One other thing that they talk to you about is the liquidity of your investment. Are you able to sell it? Can you turn it over and sell it out? That's one you want to look at when you're investing, is how easily is it to turn that stock over. Also, you want to make sure that you diversify. That's the big deal with investment. You want to look at, you want to have stocks, you want to have bonds, you want to have corporate bonds, municipal bonds. Those are things you want to look at. Again, you want to look at your age, you want to look at your income level. How much do you save? How much do you invest? If I was getting started with investing, first of all, I would invest through my company with a 401k. That's your safest, and let them manage it for you. Then I would go into what the book is talking to us a lot about, is the different types of investments that you can get. And one of them that they're really pushing is the government bonds. I like government bonds because they're pretty secure. They don't pay as high rate of return, but most of the time, most municipalities, cities, county governments, they are not going to go bankrupt. So you will get your money back. May not be as high of a yield, but you're making money, and then you can take that money when the bond matures and reinvest it when you begin to know a little bit more about bonds. Another type of conservative investment option is buying corporate bonds. Most of the time when a business wants to expand or buy or do things like that, they will put some bonds out on the market. Again, they're pretty safe investments. They're not going to pay as much yield as stocks, but again, you are getting your money back. It's a good way. You also, of course, can invest in CDs, different things like that, and we'll get into all of those in a couple of the other chapters. One thing I do suggest is that you investigate. You use the internet and look at all the different types of bonds. Know what they're doing, what they're going for. Do your homework. There's a couple of websites that you can use to look at the bond rating. Standard and Poor Corporation is the major one. You have Fitch and you have Moody's. Those are the ones that you can look, see how it's rated, kind of look at the yield, and you would know whether or not that's what you want to go. So that's just a quick overview of chapter 11. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying 8. This week on chapter 11, you do have a discussion board, and it is about investment. So make sure you think about this before you just put out anything like, I'm going to invest in Coca-Cola stock. Don't tell me why. You have a Learn Smart, you have a quiz, and you have your case study. I hope that you are working diligently on your final presentation. Believe it or not, we only have 4 weeks left, so that's not a lot of time. I would do this week, if you get a chance, I would do a test project, 1 or 2 slides, just to make sure that it records. It doesn't even have to be anything pertaining to your presentation. Just, hi, Miss Moss, my name is John Smith, and my presentation is going to be on worms. And do just 1 or 2 where you record it. I see your face on slide 1, and then I can have your voice on the rest of the slides. Email it to, if you're doing it in Office Mix, then send me the link. Let me make sure that it'll open up, and then you know you're not going to have any problems. Remember, you cannot use Office Mix on a Mac computer. So if you have a Mac, I would suggest that you either find an alternate way to record your presentation. Again, send me a dummy one so that I can make sure it'll open. Or you can check out a laptop through the school computer. You can go to any public library and they will have a computer. You just need to take a webcam so that you can record your presentation. Reinhardt does have now on our new library, we do have rooms. You could actually go into one of the rooms, borrow a laptop and sit down and record your presentation. Make sure you review all of the ins and outs for the presentation because this weighs heavily on your final grade. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day and thank you, and I'll talk with you later.